University of Maryland, just as a reminder, because I know that's a very popular school to apply to, November 1st. There is a January 20th one, but November 1st is the deadline that you want to meet. And finally, and I mentioned this a minute ago, is step 6. It is the student's responsibility to request the SAT, the ACT scores be sent. And again, if you want to get started with that now, even if an application hasn't been completed, as I said, not everything arrives at the same time. They'll take bits of information, add it to the file, add it to the file, add it to the file. NC. A few words about NC. Is that NC to me is that great second chance of hope. Is that we all know, for many of us, high school can be a great time, it can be a rough time. And there are plenty of students, and perhaps I'm speaking to parents who experience this, is that, you know what, I was real bright, high school was tough for me for whatever reason, I didn't show my true ability, I didn't have the grades to really get into the school I wanted to. Example, I want to go to Maryland, but I don't really have the grades for that. So NC is a possibility. 2 years, get your grades up, and then you don't have to worry about SATs, you don't have to worry about ACTs, that you can apply to the 4-year schools, and you're only doing the last 2 years there. There's a lot of agreements. Maryland has an agreement with NC, Towson has an agreement. I think all the Maryland schools, I think the last I looked, 2.8 or 3.0 gets you into Towson. And it's a chance for people to mature, it's also cheap, and some kids are not ready to leave home. So it's an option. And we have plenty of students also who could have gotten into very strong 4-year schools, but for whatever reason chose, you know what, now's not the time, or finances are tough, I'm going to stay here for 2 years and then move on afterwards. There's scholar programs there, honors programs there. We have a number of students who are very qualified. Instead of applying to Maryland right now, apply to those honors programs at NC. And a few words on perspective. I was talking with Ms. Harding before the program began, and I will admit that I stole this from a school in China. I used to work in China. It was a wonderful experience. And students like here would get extremely tense about college. It was very much a face issue, very concerned about what parents and friends thought about the colleges they were applying to. Sometimes it was more important the college you were applying to as opposed to the college you actually got into. But this was something that we used there, or I heard somebody use. It's a closing creed, in a sense. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but I'm just going to read it, is that I state my name, pledge that I will not allow the college admissions office to define the worth of my child. I will not pretend that it is me going to college. I will support and encourage my child to choose a school that is a good fit for him or her. Might not have been a great fit for me, but knowing my child, it's a good fit in a number of ways for him or her. And I will love my child unconditionally, which I know you do anyhow. For the students, I pledge that I will be disciplined, meet my applications, and meet my deadlines. And I know from my own experience that there can be tension in the household during college application time. And if there's students here, be aware that your parents are very, very concerned about you, and sometimes that concern comes out with what you might perceive as undue burden. They desperately want you to get out of the house and become independent, but they are probably extremely scared about you leaving. So when that happens, there is tension there. So if they keep on asking you about where are you with the college application process, have you done this, have you done that, look at it as an act of love. They're concerned about you and they're nervous about things. What you can do is, this point here, is if I'm disciplined, if I meet my deadlines, if I get my applications in with a minimum of help and a minimum of fuss, then my parents will be far more reassured that I have things under control. I will focus on who I am as a learner. I'm still somewhat surprised at the students who say, well, my friends are going there. That's nice. It doesn't mean that you have to go there. Is it a good school for you? I will understand what I want and need in a college. And I ask all my students is, I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I want you to defend your choices. Why have you chosen the school to apply to? It's going to be four of the most important years of your life. I don't want it to be something you just came up with at the top of your head. And I will not let an admissions officer define my worth. There's a lot of things that go into a yes and a no. We all face rejection. That's the way life goes. If that happens, that person is not defining who you are or the worth of you as a human being. And you can do it. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Harding, who is going to talk a little bit more about some of the aspects I spoke about. She's going to talk about it from a college admissions officer perspective, and we will be around afterwards to answer any questions, even once the football game begins.